right, so we're live, and I gotta say, this is a big shout out to OGGN. Teledyne is with us today. You know, a lot of companies they come across our inbox, we read about them. A lot of times you don't know the name, and you have to take a deeper dive to really get the reputation, to really understand what they're all about. But Teledyne, you guys are a global brand. I mean, this is something that the more I looked into it, there are so many little niches that you guys are able to help with. I think it's almost like 23 companies. Thank you guys for being here. I am here today with Josh Dugan, who's the Regional Sales of Americas for Teledyne Marine. And I'm also here with Matt Burdyny, who's the VP of Strategy and Business Development. Thank you guys for you. I mean, both of you came from a little bit of a hike, didn't you?
A little bit, not as much as Matt, but
Yeah, Matt, you flew in from Boston.
I came in from Boston last night, yeah.
Yeah, so are you a native Houstonian that just relocated?
I relocated a few months ago, lived here for 3 years up in the Woodlands, and was over in California before that.
Wow. And what brought you to Boston?
Work. It's, as you mentioned, we've got a lot of facilities, a lot of factories and businesses, and we've got some great ones up that way.
Well, that's great. And originally my conversation was with you, Josh. I mean, this is something where when you and I connected and we really dug into like what you're really doing out there, not just what you're doing here in the States, but this is very much for you a South American play and beyond.
Sure, yeah, from Canada down to Brazil, all points in between the Americas for oil and gas is my regional area. Yeah.
Awesome. And as I kind of talked to you a little bit, where did your career start? I mean, obviously you didn't work for Teledyne forever. Like, how did you get here, and what brought you to the point where you actually were able to get into a position like this and help more oil and gas companies really than I think a lot of people can?
Yeah, sure. So I started working for Cochrane Technologies, which is a survey company post-Katrina. And I worked for them for several years, and then I went to work for Seatronics, and I worked for them for 7 years, which is a subsea electronics rental company. And then I came to work for Teledyne. So since 2005, I've been in 3 positions with those 3 companies. And what's kind of ironic is Seatronics was Teledyne's customer,
Yeah.
and Cochrane was Seatronics' customer. So I've kind of graduated up, working through the company. So we actually use some of the Teledyne equipment when I worked for Cochrane.
Incredible. I think it's interesting when you think about a company like Teledyne, and more so just Teledyne Marine, to do a 30-minute episode and be able to touch on this. You guys really have a challenge here, and I can't wait to see how you laid it out, knowing that you work with companies like Oceaneering and our sponsor, Technip FMC, who I've interviewed. That to me that says a lot. And I hope anyone listening, watching, pay attention, because what you're about to get exposed to is something that if you're not in the oil and gas industry is going to be very entertaining and interesting, because there's a lot of innovation here. And then if you are an executive or you're somebody who's trying to maximize your company in the oil and gas industry, pay attention, because what we're going to get into is going to be fast and furious. And we're going to get it kicked off right now. So, all right, guys, where are we going to start? Maybe we should talk to who are the clients that you guys are, obviously Technip FMC, Oceaneering, and a lot of other big names. Who do you think should be on the edge of their seats as we get into what we're about to learn?
Yeah, I would say anybody in the maritime industry, anybody in doing anything subsea that needs to know what's going on and deliver highly reliable results, whatever those may be.
Terrific. And then Josh, you are the architect of your deck today.
Yes, I am. Yes. So I'm gonna let Matt kick off, kind of giving you guys just a little bit of understanding of Teledyne Marine and kind of who we are, and then I think we can go from there.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think you teed it up really well, and thank you. Teledyne is an interesting company. A lot of people look at it as they're familiar with product A, product B that Teledyne has supplied in the past, even outside of the marine or maritime industry. Teledyne is actually fundamentally a technology company. And what's really interesting and makes Teledyne different is we're not just a technology company, but all the way up to our CEO and chairman is a material scientist. And so if you stand back and look at Teledyne as a whole, We have technology on things like the Mars rover, materials technology on the space shuttle, and so on and so forth. And the real power of Teledyne is taking all of these industries and all these capabilities, whether it's aerospace, defense, oil and gas, and leveraging that know-how and that technology into other places. And a great example of that is some of the space materials that we've been able to work with and develop. We've been able to take those and put them into things like pins on subsea connectors that build out higher reliability, better performance, better capability portfolio that allows our customers to do things that they couldn't have done before. So, but the same is also true on the on the flip side is as part of that process, Teledyne grows through both innovation and acquisition. And one of the companies that we acquired was formerly called Rockwell Scientific, now Teledyne Scientific, and that just speaks to the value that Teledyne holds on technology. Because when that happened, we actually relocated our corporate headquarters into the Rockwell, now Teledyne Scientific facility, which is where our corporate staff and our CEO and chairman sits as well.
It's really just in a way mind-blowing about, a lot of times when you sit down with a company that seems technology, you're going, well, it's not just technology that matters, it's sometimes materials that matter. And that was kind of my takeaway as I dug deeper into what you guys do. And of course, we did our first call. You guys are really taking it beyond just the technology, and you're getting into these materials that, in this case, you're talking about space travel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what a lot of people don't understand is some people take it for granted, but in every piece of Teledyne technology that we ship out the door, some of that material science exists, whether they know it's there or not, because whether you're looking at materials and water permeability in those materials, the proper selection of those materials, we've got a much deeper understanding than your conventional supplier.
So Teledyne Marine, right? There's these different oil and gas operators, there's people needing to do research, and you guys really, there's a whole catalog of solutions that you have. Where do we go from here? Like, how do we pop the top of this interview knowing that really there's so many different silos that we could discuss?
No, absolutely. And I think the best way to talk about it is, how did Teledyne Marine kind of come to existence? And, I mentioned Teledyne grows by acquisition. Back in kind of 2005, 2006, Teledyne really kind of looked at the marine maritime space and thought there was a big opportunity there. And since 2005, 2006, they've acquired 23 separate companies, which ultimately now make up Teledyne Marine.
Wonderful. And then, Josh, here you are, you've got clients that you're meeting. You're really essentially in sales. You're meeting real companies that have real problems. And where do you open the book? Like, what is the typical conversation sound like?
I think that really depends on the customer, but because of the broad range of equipment that we do offer, everything from we build ROVs, we build AUVs, we have a lot of different products, and some of those products. In fact, I'll click over to the next slide here to show a few of those. But it really depends on the client and what their focus is. If it's the marine contractors, it's going to be focused on the ROVs, the divers, that kind of thing.
And the ROVs, just for the audience?
Sure. So remote operated vehicles, and a lot of contractors use those. And for folks that really don't understand the subsea world, there's a lot that goes on subsea, and it's very challenging. It's a very challenging environment.
And how interesting that it almost sounds like you don't really have to have somebody driving the submarine. You can just remote control this thing.
Absolutely.
And accomplish the goal.
Absolutely, yes. So once you get past that 1,000-foot range of water where saturation diving is really not an option, that's basically the only option you're left with, is to use robots at that point to do the construction subsea. So everything from the geo aspect, from just finding the oil, all the way to the final, tapping into the ground, extraction, that whole thing. It's a huge process, but it takes a lot of equipment, a lot of expertise, And so the way we were able to help our clients is, by delivering products and having solutions, and really trying to be proactive in having a better solution, something more advanced that makes the job easier, more cost effective, because now everything is, of course, coming down the price now for everyone. So,
well, this brings up a great topic because, Mark LaCour sat me down a couple weeks ago and he said, look, there is an emergency really going on in the oil and gas industry. And what it is that here we have this downturn and companies have to make adjustments. And the adjustments aren't just to like make a temporary solution. This is really a long play. And what you guys are really here, like what I'm hoping that we can do in this conversation, is that a lot of the capabilities that you guys provide are things that can help companies make more money, invest in their future. It's important for everyone, every CFO to remember your shareholders' memory is very short. So even though right now you're trying to like get it down to the bootstrings, this is really not the play right now. This is the time to innovate, possibly invest, stretch things out so that when you are in this next world, the new normal, which I don't think we're ever going back, you need to be prepared. You need to have things in place. So can we talk about that? Can we talk about what you're seeing like in the products that are out there where people are investing and able to maybe have more capacity, more efficiency?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's a great point. In the last 10 years has been challenging. We've had multiple downturns. That's really, it's really pushed the industry to see what it's made of and where it can go. One of the key areas we've been extremely successful is working, collaborating, and partnering with some of our best customers, looking at ways that we can help them remove cost. And there's a lot of ways to do that. And it's not just looking at itemized components, but systematically taking cost out, making them more competitive and driving innovation. And the key thing there is you hear the old adage of, when there's a challenge, to fix the challenge, it's most cost effective to do it early. And the same thing is when you're trying to find ways to take cost out. And that's where Teledyne is a great partner. Guys like Josh and myself can really help and support. If we come in early and are part of that early discussion, we can find ways to leverage technology to drive cost out of the whole operation.
Because essentially, if we hear about this all the time, where a company is trying to solve a problem, they start out with maybe whoever kind of convinced them they were the best thing out there. And sometimes if it's just a one product company, like they just have one solution and they're just putting all of their marketing dollars towards that one thing, you guys are having to compete against them, but your catalog is so much more diverse, right?
absolutely.
So Josh, I mean, tell me, like when we originally talked, we went through like 10, 15 pieces of equipment that are changing the way people do business. Is there any of that you could touch on? I know you don't want to go into a deep dive because it's so technical, but there's things that people are able to do and adjustments they're able to make through engaging you guys and maybe investing in some new solutions. It sounds almost like it needs to be bundled sometimes.
Absolutely. It's really, from the last few downturns, it's really about doing more with less and using technology to benefit the way that you complete your job. And, technology is ever evolving. So we try to stay on the latest cutting edge technology, and it just makes doing the job at the end of the day easier, whether it be for the diver, whether it be for the ROV operator, whether it be for the rig operator. The components that we sell and promote is really about trying to do the job the best way possible and cut down, efficiently.
Mm-hmm. And then you guys even were talking about applications, right? I mean, it's not just ROV. Like I want to talk about ROV because it's like remote control submarines, 10 million. I don't know how much they cost, but they've got to be big ticket items to do what we're talking about. And then, I mean, even the understanding that, which I had none before we talked about, acoustics and like all of these things that are going on below sea level, right? there's a lot of people that just don't know anything about that. So any kind of summary you have, I think a lot of the OGGN followers would probably get something out of that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's I think a lot of folks, if they don't have a very good understanding about subsea, it's sometimes you need to be able to see underwater, and a lot of times, you might be in a zero viz situation where you can't see your hand in front of your face, right? So you need to be able to operate in those environments. And we use acoustics for that. And so by using the acoustics, you're able to see underwater. You're able to navigate.
It's like the world's largest ultrasound we're talking about here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and there are so many products that we have that do so many different things, but that's just one example. And like you said, if we were to get into all of them, we would need a couple episodes, right, for that. But just talking about the acoustics in general. They're used for a wide variety of applications, whether it be tracking pipelines, actually monitoring the integrity of pipelines, navigation purposes, finding fish. So, so that opens up, and I think that's why we're so involved in so many different markets, is because of the capabilities that the equipment actually has.
Sure. Okay, so let's talk South America, right? I mean, there's this initiative where you hear a lot about the oil and gas industry south of our border. What would you share with me about that? I mean, really, there's plenty of activity there. How does Teledyne work in these other geographical areas outside of the U.S.?
Mexico and Brazil have been emerging markets for us, and they are very, adaptive to hearing about new technologies. They want to learn, on the front side before getting actually started. In groundbreaking whatever project that it is. They want to know what capabilities we have in the equipment, and it's just to make, again, the job easier. It's to make it, that's really what it boils down to. It's getting the job done easier, faster, more cost effective, and so those markets have really been responsive to our equipment, to our capabilities, and learning about them and actually using them. So,
all right, cool. Do you want to move to another slide?
Sure, I can. Yeah, you talked a little bit about the ROV. I think we mentioned the diver. And then I mentioned to you as well that we manufacture AUVs, ROVs.
So what does that mean?
Autonomous underwater vehicle.
Yeah.
So It's basically like an ROV.
Yeah.
But most of the time an ROV is tethered, where an AUV is tetherless.
Okay,
so,
nice. It's like having a remote control boat, but you can actually take it further than the 10-foot cord.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So it really gives us a capability to do survey, whether it's from a vessel or an unmanned system, right? So, and that's also where the acoustics come in. So Josh talked about the ability to see, where you may be in turbid water and you have zero visibility, but the same is also true. You can profile and collect what the bathymetry of the seafloor looks like, from hundreds or even in some cases up to thousands of meters away.
Wow, incredible. And then you guys are doing a lot of strategic partnerships. I mean, I know that we touched on that. I don't know if you could kind of take me down a deeper dive, because a lot of times it's about profitability, it's about ease of getting things done, and agility, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, this also kind of comes back to the earlier conversation about, when is the right time to engage us so you can, really benefit and maximize the value of that. And we've been successful doing it with, several key customers, folks like Oceaneering and the likes, where it's been a great two-way partnership. And so
how is it a two-way partnership? What is the reciprocation?
So the reciprocation is, they've got technology that they're trying to develop. We've got technology on our side, and how do we make those two pieces of technology mesh to deliver the best end solution? So in our case, where we really specialize, specifically Josh and myself, is on the instrumentation and the acoustics. So with any underwater vehicle, especially when it's unmanned, you need to have sensors to tell you what your peripherals look like, right? Whether it's acoustics, whether it's camera, whether it's position, navigation, and timing. And this comes back to what you were saying earlier as well. You have all these, niche companies that focus on their niche, their one product. An ROV may have a dozen or, more than that, different products on it. How do they tie all that together? The way the world works now is it's up to the customer to do that. And that's where Teledyne Marine really differentiates, is we bring all these pieces together and help deliver a solution to the customer.
That's awesome. So where do we go from here? Like we've got, I think that it's obvious that there is like this plethora. I know there is, because when I first did my call with Josh, before we agreed to an episode or whatever, he was able to get online and basically run me through maybe 40 products that were so different. Like one, of course, the most memorable is the remote control boats, right? Like that's the wrong way to put it, but and I'm just giving you guys a hard time. But the idea is that, when you look at a catalog like that, where are people, when they bring you in early, talking about the idea that the longer it takes you to make a change, the more consequence there is to delay, right? So where does it begin really for those listening? And can you run me through like 5 or 6 facets that when you guys are in these offices, you're actually pitching the capabilities of Teledyne, what are you touching on?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I would say there's a lot of different things, but let's stick to the top ones. Is if somebody is designing something like an underwater vehicle, the best time to engage us is when you're kicking off the design of the vehicle, or in other cases it may not be a vehicle, it may be a subsea system that requires interconnect and cabling infrastructure, and the answer is the same. Because then we can work with you on ways to do it in the most streamlined manner and cost-effective and most reliable, right? It's not just the cost, but it's the reliability part of that. And we've talked a lot about ROV, and that's just one area that we touch on, right? So, we also work a lot with diving and anything from cameras and lights to imaging sonar. We talked about turbid water, ocean bottom seismic nodes, and there's a full capability there, and the list goes on. It's
incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, so Josh, will you walk me through what is the process? So there's these obviously very large, very successful companies you work with, but you don't have to be that big to have a meeting with you. What does that process look like? What do you find yourself uncovering in a discovery meeting with a new prospect?
I think it's really about understanding what the client's trying to achieve, and we can offer a plethora of different pieces of equipment, but ultimately at the end of the day, we want to really cater to our customers' overall objective. What they're trying to achieve, and so it's really based on that. It's really speaking to the customer and building that relationship to understand what they're trying to achieve, and offer equipment based on those needs.
Anything else that we should cover before we close this episode out? There's got to be, I don't know if there's anything we missed, but we can hit it.
Sure. One of our biggest products that has been very successful for us over the years has been our sonar that we develop and manufacture out of our Denmark facility. And so the video that you see there playing behind you is actually showing how this equipment is actually working. And I wanted to share this because there's so many new features that we've designed into the new system, and I just think that there's not so many folks that are aware of the capabilities that the equipment has. I mentioned, finding fish, but also finding gas seeps subsea. Mm-hmm. The equipment could be used for that. So, there's a big range of each piece of equipment where it could be used, where folks might not, think that it could be used, just not aware that it could be used in that manner, but also from pipe tracking, and that's what this is showing here in the video.
Traditional multi-beam echo sounders deliver few hits on the pipeline. Flex mode, unique to Cbat, provides optimum beam spacing by maximizing hits on the pipeline or any other structure while maintaining full coverage. Flex mode is easy to set up. Define the spacing you want for the outside swath, select your high density coverage, and Cbat does the rest. Cbat's pipe detection in real time is designed to increase productivity in pipeline survey by reducing processing effort. The innovative link between detected pipe position and multi-beam signal processing ensures the most robust pipeline profile achievable on the market, an industry first. There are controls for setting the pipe diameter and other detection parameters. The detected pipe position even automatically steers the flex mode sector, Cbat, enabling pipeline surveys from surface vessels and enhancing the traditional ROV surveys and AUV operations. Teledyne Reson Cbat is the solution for pipeline surveys. Teledyne Reson, everywhere you look.
One day I'm going to have you explain all that to me, because it's really it's amazing to see what you can see under the ocean so far away. And is that the loop right there? That's the loop of the video?
Yep.
Or it's just going to keep going?
Yep, no, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it right there. So it goes right along with our saying, everywhere you look.
Yeah, all right, everywhere you look. That's really great. So a big topic in the oil and gas industry is HSE, right? I mean, for the listener, we're talking safety, we're talking environment. Teledyne is known to play a big part in this for a lot of companies. Can you guys kind of walk me through that and tell me how you're doing that? And is the word on the street accurate? Like, this is a big part of your business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Safety is essential. It's in everything we do. It's part of the onboarding process. It's part of our regular communication. Keeping our employees, our customers safe is of the utmost priority. And we've actually worked with customers on safety as well. So when we talk about, you mentioned earlier, what's the reciprocal? Well, the reciprocal is, when we sit down and have these conversations with our customers, safety is one of the things we discuss. Because they don't want to be buying from people who are unsafe and vice versa. And so that's been a real fantastic opportunity to mind share on our HSE culture.
And that's great. And then, so Josh, you're in the field, right? You're out there talking to customers day in, day out. Where does the rubber meet the road? Like, here we have this great capability, and what are the applications that you're seeing where you're actually fulfilling orders that are guaranteeing safety, increasing safety, or protecting the environment?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as Matt mentioned, our equipment is built to certain safety standards because a lot of this stuff is going subsea, and so our safety standards are set very high. But we also like to learn our customers' safety culture and collaborate our safety culture with theirs as well to make sure that everything is solid between the two.
That's incredible. Yeah, it's a really interesting thing when we talk about keeping your employees safe, keeping Mother Earth safe, right?
Absolutely.
I don't think the oil and gas industry gets enough credit for that. But OGGN right now, we just launched Elevate, which is supposed to be talking that story pretty good. But I want to say thank you guys for doing this. I gave you guys a pretty tall order, which was, hey, how do we keep this thing to where we don't go so deep on our dive that we don't get anywhere? And you guys did a really great job. I feel like anyone who's listening to this, watching this, and even for our interns at OGGN, there's things that they're learning that can be implemented for 2021 and beyond. So thank you. I got to ask you, if somebody is listening to this and they're going crap, I want to talk to these guys. I want to see if they can do X, Y, or Z. How do they begin the process with Teledyne? How do they get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd say first and foremost, check out teledynemarine.com. You can see a lot of what we do as well. In addition, if you've got a request or an inquiry, feel free to fill it out on there and it'll come right to us.
Yep, even reach out to us on LinkedIn.
You're the sales guy. What's your handle?
Absolutely, Josh Dugan.
Josh Dugan.
Just look up Josh Dugan on LinkedIn, and you should find me there.
All right, and everybody, we will definitely put their information in the show notes. You will find we'll be doing a lot of stuff with these guys. I know as we've I keep you guys are into diving, and I have to keep talking. I have to keep saying diving. But anyway, as we dove into today, one of the things Mark and I were talking about is there are other pods that we have that y'all are like the perfect fit to kind of go into a lot deeper dive than what we are here today on the subsea stuff and beyond. So thank you again. And I just want to say a quick thank you to Churrasco's Restaurant. We've been treated so great here today. They've made this space for us. And if you've never been here, if you've never had a tres leches, if you don't know what I'm talking about, come check it out. It's really amazing. And by the way, if you have a company and you have a great solution to a real problem, come prove it on the Oil and Gas Pitch podcast. Thank you guys. I appreciate
Thanks
it.
so much, Warren.
All right. Take
Appreciate
care.
it.